Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another random review. Today we're going to Japan. We're going back in time to 1965, and we're going to talk about a story written with water, directed by Yoshida, starring Yoshida, regular Okada Marika, and Yamagata Isao, who's one of the Seven Samurai, along with Irukawa Yasunori, and others, strangely enough. This is one of the latest Radiance releases. It's by number 45, and as usual with Radiance, you get the reversible artwork and a booklet, but I went with one of the original artworks. This is another phenomenal film from Radiance. I'm not paid by Radiance. I'm not popular enough to be paid by Radiance. But this is an absolute corker. It's not a film that normally would necessarily pique my interest. It follows an office worker who's about to be married, and his relationship with his mother, who doesn't look that much older than him, played by Okada Mariko, and his fiancée, her father, has had a relationship with his mother, after, and maybe not necessarily after, his father died. So Yoshida was part of the Japanese New Wave. He wanted to make a film that he didn't actually make. He believed in anti-auteurism, which meant kind of making films that was really up to the audience to interpret. So it's not really anything to do with him, or the film's meaning doesn't really have anything to do with him, even though he wrote and made the films. But he just wanted to make films with multiple, you can read them however you like, and it's not really the director telling you how to take a film or how to read a film, which is all very fine. But then if you're a filmmaker who's making films with certain themes, and then that kind of leans more into auteur theory than anti-auteur theory. But anywho, I will say the first thing about this release is the picture quality. It's in black and white. It's one of those absolutely stunning black and white films from the 60s. But what I will say, this print by Radiance, it's almost like a 4K at times. It's absolutely a stunning restoration. I mean, all it says is it's a high definition digital transfer, but it almost looks like a 4K at times for most of the film. It's just so impressive. It's perhaps a little bit more sedate than some of the Japanese New Wave films of the 60s. There's not necessarily kind of any quick cutting and stuff like that. There's expressionist lighting. The ending is very kind of new wavy, I guess. From my perspective, there's perhaps 2 points before the ending that it could end, but that's like a minor. That's a minor thing. It's funny that I recently talked about John Sayles' masterwork Lone Star, which is all about the dynamic between family members and there not being a barrier between past and present. And a story written in with water, not in water, with water, has those same themes, because it is about Shiko and his mother. It's about his fiancée and her father. It's about the father and the mother. It's about the dead father and the mother. It's, and again, because it's about the past having such an impact in the present, the flashbacks that take place aren't really flashbacks. There's a fluidity, which obviously suits all the water themes that go through the film as well. There's a fluidity between the past and present that you see in Lone Star as well. So there's no divide between past and present. They both kind of exist, and are both, the characters are the past is on their shoulder at all times, basically. There are also themes of, it's a very claustrophobic film, even although there's lots of beautiful outdoor shots. There's lakes and woods. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful countryside, again, and sparkling black and white cinematography. So even though there's lots of exteriors, it's a very claustrophobic film as well, and there are themes of the thing that family members shouldn't necessarily do with each other. Part of that is because the lead character and his mother, I'm guessing in real life there wasn't actually that much of an age gap between the actors. I believe Okada was 32 when she made this film, and I'm sure the male actor who plays her son, wasn't actually that much younger than her. There's countless comments made. We see him with his school friends and them talking about how much of a looker his mother is, and she looks so young. So apparently she's in her 50s, even though she looks obviously a lot younger than that. And as I said, the actor was 32 when she made the film. So you have that dynamic between the son and mother. And also, as Yoshida says, there's a little intro from 2008 by Yoshida. As we know, Japan is a patriarchy. It's a very male-orientated country and society. There's plenty of references, because the kind of, not necessarily the plot, because it's not like a plot-driven film necessarily, but what plot there is starts with the main character in his office getting a note, and the note is asking whether his fiancée, are you sure she's a virgin? Because it's this thing of, oh yes, you have to necessarily marry a virgin, but of course the man can go to certain places and have sex with certain women, and that's okay, or businessmen can have affairs and that's perfectly alright. But again, it's that double standard. If a woman has affairs or whatever, it's looked differently than a man having affairs. So Yoshida wanted to kind of look at it from the mother's point of view, and this is based on a book, and apparently the book is far more explicit in the things that shouldn't happen between family members happening between family members, whereas Yoshida was more interested in why that would, the thinking that would make somebody do that, as opposed to the actual act itself. And I think he does do a very good job of that. So it's a 15, but there's nothing really explicit in the film. The film could be a lot more exploitative. I mean, you could see the kind of basic scenario appearing in a Pink film, for example. And it is interesting, it was produced by Nikatsu. Because of the subject matter, they couldn't really get it made at Shioku or Shohei, so they ended up doing Nikatsu, and of course Nikatsu are famous for doing Pink films. So in the hands of, a Pink filmmaker or Pink film producer, that kind of storyline could be much more exploitative and crass, whereas this is much more subtle, and again it's about the thinking behind that rather than the actual act. The main character is constantly thinking about his mother, his fiancée, who his mother's seen in the past, who his fiancée may or may have not seen in the past, his experiences as a child with one of the female neighbours, for example, or friend of the family, I'm not quite sure who she is. So you just have this kind of milieu of the fluidity between past and present. There's lots of screens between characters, doors between characters, kind of slats and doors between characters, also the water. There's actually a kind of high shot looking down on the mother through a kind of mesh, which is pretty much the double of the shot of De Niro in Once Upon a Time in America, looking down upon him through the mesh screen. So there's all these kind of barriers that are placed and then taken down, whether they be societal or metaphorical or just physical, in the film. Again, Yoshida wanted to play it like a Greek tragedy, and I think he does a fantastic job of it. Again, as I said, it's not necessarily a film subject matter would draw me to it, but because of the tone of it, because of perhaps the way it ends, it is a pretty amazing film. It's 2 hours long, but it doesn't really feel like it. You are invested in the characters, and again, it's visually a pretty stunning film. And there's lovely little touches, like the mother has a kind of fairly striking parasol that is a fairly important part of the film as it goes along. There's a wonderful moment that kind of leans into the son-mother relationship, where the mother has packaged up all the kind of drawings and sketches that the son made when he was a child to give to his wife once they're married, to kind of get to know him a little bit through his art. And on the top there's a little box with his umbilical cord, and the son kind of says, is this a part of your body or is it a part of my body? and then it just cuts to another scene, but it's just a lovely little touch about the link between them, quite literally and figuratively. So there's a lot going on. It's one of those 5-star films for me that perhaps you wouldn't watch that often, but I think if you do watch it again and again, there'll be more little nuances and little links with the characters and the way the film's shot that you would gain new admiration for. As I said, the father of the soon-to-be wife is played by Yamagata Isao, who's one of the 7 samurai. And again, he has claimed that he's always loved the mother, even when she was married. But anytime we see them together, it's just kind of physical. The physical act of love that he's only really interested in. There's no real whatever the other part of it is, which again is more of a kind of nod towards the relationship Japan has with women, which again is an interesting little touch that his character is very much just interested in the physical part. He's always telling her how much he's loved her while he's trying to nibble on something. So it is an absolutely beautiful film, visually striking and really subtle despite talking about fairly dark things. As I say, it just says it's a high definition digital transfer, but it looks almost like 4K. As I said, there's an archival interview with Keiji Yoshida from 2008, which is 3 minutes. There's a new interview with Okada Mariko from 2023, which is 11 minutes. So I think she was born in 1933, so she's looking good for her age. And there's an interview with scholar Jennifer Coates, author of Making Icons, Repetition in the Female Image in Japanese Cinema 1945 to 1964, from 2023, which is 22 minutes. And Jennifer Coates gives a background of the kind of historical impact of the film and the themes in the film and how that relates to Yoshida's other work. There's a trailer, and again there is a booklet and reversible artwork. So this is another one of those stunning Radiance releases. And again, Radiance have just been pretty top drawer since January 2023, which I think is when they started. It's another absolutely gorgeous piece of work. So thanks very much for watching this random review of a story written with water, not in water. Please let me know if you've seen it. And yes, SGS Arts, I do have other Yoshida films in the backlog that I need to get to. So please let me know if you've seen it, what you think of it, and hopefully you'll join me again for more random reviews. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.